All right, it is Thursday, June 18th. I am here with the talented, the talkative, occasionally interrupting Anna Navarro. Hello, Anna Navarro.
The very orange.
You're very orange today.
I feel like the giant peach.
I thought this
today.
was Trump commentary. I didn't know what you were doing. But it's fine.
Cha-cha.
You look lovely. Cha-Cha is here. All right, I'm going to bring this up right now. So for a long time now, I've been saying that I think the secret to the Anna Navarro podcasts, the success of them, is the presence of Cha-Cha. And it's not ready yet, but we are in the works of creating the Cha-Cha cam. So you'll have the option of not just listening. You can watch Anna and I, or you can listen to Anna and I and just have the camera on a separate feed of just Cha-Cha the entire time. I think that will do better.
You keep doing things for this podcast. You keep fixing the lighting. There's cameras everywhere.
I have an incredible team. I will say, yes.
You do.
Yeah, I have a great team, and they don't just hand out those Webby Awards, Anna Navarro.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Okay, maybe one day I'll get one with you.
All right. On Tuesday, okay, we had Vice President J.D. Vance. It's been a very big week here at The View, and we're making a lot of news. Everyone's talking about The View. So let's break down what really happened that day. He said today, as a joke on a press conference, that The View is a more hostile environment than the Iranian regime, and that he and Joy are now best friends. Which Joy's reaction to him was not what many expected, and there's a lot of press about it now because she said that she liked him, and he was a good guy and should run for president.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I think it's a testament to the influence of The View. I know a lot of people don't want it to be influential. I know a lot of people say, "Ooh, just like boo-hoo on The View," but I don't know what other interview he does that makes this level of news.
It's crazy because he did a lot that day.
He's done a ton of interviews. Yeah. He's on a book tour. He's talking about Iran deal now. Nobody's getting the news that we made with him.
No.
Part of the reason that happens is because Republicans don't come on here, despite the fact that we invite them.
Yeah.
I mean, you are the executive producer. You actively work on trying to get Republican
we've been trying
guests.
to get J.D. Vance for several years, and we're trying to get Marco Rubio, and we're trying to get the speaker. I mean, obviously, anybody in those positions we'd love to have on.
And, I said to you last week, they decide to come on when they're selling books because The View is very good at selling books.
They are.
And he actually said that to me during a commercial
break. Really?
Yeah. Because he kept saying, we were asking policy questions, and he kept saying,
I want to talk about my book.
I want to talk about my book. I want to talk about my book. I was told that you all sell books.
Yes.
So, that's precisely why they come on. Now, I will say...
Same thing for movie stars, by the way. It's anytime someone has a book, this is a place. They come here, they go to Morning Joe, I think, sells a lot of books. And those are the places. Maybe Daily Show.
And now I will say a lot of times what Republicans do and what I was expecting him to do, and he proved not to do, was they come on here and they try to provoke a fight. They try to provoke a moment where we are fighting and, with him. And
look to when Don Jr. was on, things like
Don
that.
Jr., Janine Pirro.
Matt Gaetz.
What's the guy from Kentucky who got beaten up by his neighbor? Rand Paul.
Yeah.
They take that moment.
But by the way, I just want to point out, we just named several Republicans that have been on the show. This perception that The View doesn't have Republicans on the show, you'd be hard pressed to think of a high profile Republican politician that has not been on The View. Steve Scalise, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Matt Gaetz, Corey Lewandowski. Literally everyone has been on this show. It's really something else. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and we were prepared for that.
Of course.
We were prepared not to take the bait.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what he did. He came in and, it felt like Sesame Street, the way he came in, right? He was laughing and he was nice and he was affable and he was polite and all of those things. He was disarmingly nice and polite and, telling me things like, "Oh, Anna, you know more about the Republican Party than I ever will."
Yeah.
Or, saying, so he was that was his strategy. That was very strategic on his part, I think, because then when we came at him, we look like we're attacking him, and here he is playing Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
So I was sitting on one side of him. Joy was sitting on the other side. So I heard when Joy said to him during a commercial break, you're pretty good. You're okay. You're good. Dot for a Republican.
Yes.
So he forgot that caveat. And I think Joy was also very affable. She must have been well fed at that morning because she tends to get hangry.
No, she was by the podcast. She was getting
by
little,
the podcast. She's if you don't feed her some popcorn, she'll bite you.
Yes.
So she's got to have been well fed and feeling happy. But Joy tends to do that. Because I remember when, she was very annoyed with Chris Christie when he was supporting Donald Trump. All of a sudden, Chris Christie shows up here and they exchange phone numbers and become texting buddies.
Yeah.
So
she loves Mitt Romney now. She hated him when he was running before.
Yeah, she met him at my wedding.
Right.
And
if she meets somebody and
right.
can have a conversation with them, that's not going to change how she feels politically about them. That's the rub. I mean, it's not like she's going to vote for J.D. Vance tomorrow.
I, on the other hand.
Yes.
Well, I saw the comments online. There were tons and tons of comments online, and a lot of people said that I was ice cold. Listen, I was ice cold because that's how I feel about this administration. And let me, and I never forget that I am a Latina immigrant with a national platform sitting next to the vice president of an administration that has terrorized and targeted and racially profiled and tortured people who look like me and sound like me.
Right.
And that if I have that opportunity, I am representing.
But you were not rude. You were respectful of the office.
I got up.
Yeah.
I give the office its respect, but I'm not going to be, affable. Also, listen, he came on here and he's picked up a few tricks from Trump, right? Because he lied a lot in this interview.
He deflected, certainly.
No, he didn't deflect. Let's call a spade a spade. He lied. You trying to say that, J.D. Vance trying to say that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein knew each other in the 80s. Yeah. I call that a lie.
Absolutely.
They were best friends, and it was way past the 80s. It was in the, into
Absolutely.
the 2000s. They were, they traveled, they were on the plane together, they partied together. They were very close friends in Palm Beach and in New York. I mean, my God,
no,
Donald Trump did allegedly, as he pretends not to, as when Ghislaine Maxwell did a birthday book for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday and put together.
Yeah, I wish we had read that.
Cards from his, messages from his closest friends. Donald Trump was prominently in there.
Yes.
So don't try to tell me that they just knew each other.
And I think the questioning about Epstein with you and Sonny mostly, I think, was probably the most impactful part of the interview for me. I think I think he was having a hard time deflecting those facts because they are facts. There's reporting. There's possibly tapes that exist of them talking about this in the Situation Room, which I think he had to think about. Well, if I say something here, are people going to hear a tape in a week and a half, and it's going to be clear what I was saying. So I thought that was
and he also thing. He also lied about Donald Trump wanting the Epstein files out. That is such a ridiculous lie because we have heard Republican congresswomen talk about the enormous amount of pressure that this administration, that Donald Trump himself put on them to vote against the bill that then became the law to release the Epstein files. I mean, we know because Lauren Boebert, who is a Trump supporter, has told us that she got brought into the Situation Room and pressured to vote the other way.
Also.
So yeah, so that's and I think that it really affects the way the interview went because you see when you've got somebody that's sitting there smiling through the lies, you've got no choice but to push back.
Right.
And that's like a question that you have to make immediately, right? That's like a decision you have to make immediately. Do I sit here and let us get on to the next question, or do I push back on the lies?
So this is both what works for our show and is the problem of our show. And by the way, before we go on, I do have to say that Trump has denied any wrongdoing, any knowledge of Epstein's crimes, and ever visiting the island. But the great thing about our show is the fact that it is primarily unscripted. We have questions that you guys work on with producers to kind of figure out what you want to talk about, and then things unfold the way they do. We got to about a quarter of the questions we wanted to do partly because we had to follow up on these things. We couldn't let things go. Right. So, we started a segment with the idea that, okay, in this one, we're going to talk about Epstein, immigration, and then we're going to get to the Iran war. Well, we never got to the Iran war because we
And
talked
there was
about
a
three
time,
other
there
things.
was a point because we were down to a minute and a half.
Yes,
before
partly
the
because
show
you
ended.
and Whoopi and others kept talking. But yes, we had a minute and a half left, and we had to make a decision of, do we talk about Iran for a minute, or do we talk about this from the book, or do we talk about
So the
other
question
things?
was, and there was a debate at the table. The
Yes.
question was, do we talk about Iran or do we talk about the cat lady
Yes.
comment?
Yes.
The cat lady mea culpa.
And the lady mea culpa felt like we could do it faster than we could Iran.
Well, but you also said he's getting asked about Iran in every other show.
And he had spent the whole morning talking about it. He had talked about it yesterday, and it was a little duplicative.
So that was an executive producer decision
Absolutely.
that you made.
Right or
there
wrong,
Were, there
yeah.
were, there were a few questions. I had a bunch of questions that I wanted to ask him, and we gotta give because I want to give people a little behind the scenes on how we do this, right,
Yes.
at the View. So when somebody like a JD Vance is coming, we, and this occasion he was promoting this book. We get the book. We read the book. We'd known for weeks that he was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a producer on our team, Carly, who did an excellent job
really did
coming
a
up with
fantastic
questions.
job. Mm-hmm.
Because you have to work on making sure that everybody is asking a different question on different topics.
Right.
We can't. So this is not something
Because
that
you
we
all
do
care about the same
impromptu.
stuff. It's not like anybody at the table doesn't want to talk about Epstein or immigration or any of those things. So we have to kind of divvy up.
I wouldn't have asked about cat ladies.
No. But Joy really wanted to.
I wanted to. I had two things that I wanted to ask him that I didn't get to. One was during the Epstein segment. And it came to me as I was listening to him. I wanted to get him on record on whether he supported or opposed a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
Which we have heard that Donald
Yeah.
Trump is thinking about, but we ran out of time and had to go to commercial.
And you wanted to talk about Trump's health also.
And I had a question ready on Trump's health because he was very critical, J.D. Vance, of Joe Biden, as
Right.
were many Democrats.
Yes.
So I did want to ask him about the hypocrisy and inconsistency of that. I also wanted to ask him about 2028 and Marco Rubio. I know Marco Rubio very well. So none of us got through all of the questions that each of us had prepared with our producer through that. And that's okay.
Yes.
And part of the reason that we were grilling him on policy instead of really talking about the book is because he never comes on. If he had been coming on, if he'd come on last year, if he'd come on before, then we could have spent time talking about the book.
And you can't win either way, because if you don't follow up, then you're letting things go. That's the hard part of the show.
There was a little bit of a tense moment with Whoopi and I.
I wanted to ask you about this because there's more headlines. It was something forgotten seconds after the show internally, but then you read 25 headlines about it.
Well, I wanted to get in a question because this was during the segment where Whoopi was asking him about, what's up with you all and black people and, how does that sit with you? And it's very important. Whoopi, he then went on Fox and claimed Whoopi had called him a racist.
Yes.
That is another lie. And Whoopi very intentionally at one point said, no, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm doing. She said it during the segment, and that's not what she did. But in that segment, where he was asking for examples of, okay, tell me what we've done that you object to. Tell me what we've done that you think is racist. And, Sonny came in with some examples. I wanted to get in the question, do you condemn the fact that Michelle Obama was just called a slur at the UFC match on Sunday night?
I would have liked to have heard
House?
his answer to that.
So that moment with Whoopi. First of all, look, this is a live show.
Yes.
And that's why it gets messy sometimes. Because it's a live show. In this case, we had 6 women, which is the same thing we have done with every sitting president and vice president that comes on. All of us show up.
And that was
again,
my decision because I think
it
it was important to have everyone there.
And I wanted to get in that question, and I thought it was very relevant, and a very recent example of racism by that White House because they have refused to condemn it. We ran out of time, and Whoopi's job is to moderate and be a moderator and make sure
And what
that the
people don't
trains
see
are
is
running on
me
time.
and the stage manager and 7
Right.
other people saying we're running out of time because the next segment's going to end up being 30 seconds.
Right. And you're all going like this.
Right.
Music is playing,
Yeah.
and I'm like that person in the Oscars trying to finish their
Your speech.
as they cut the mic off. Right? They're
Yeah.
like got a hook on.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's, that's also a little bit of my CNN training,
Of course.
Da, 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 da. I mean, he would have either had to say, yes, I condemn the slur on Michelle Obama, or and oppose his boss, Donald Trump, or he would have said, nah, and come out as, looking complicit with that slur.
What do you think he would have done? Because no one's asked him yet that I'm aware of.
I have no idea. That's why
I have to think he would have condemned it, but who knows?
I'm not sure. I would have liked to ask.
Yeah.
But listen, this is not like it has been in some previous times.
No. There's
on The
been
View.
no. I mean, there's been actual tension on The View in the
Yeah,
past.
that leads to to tantrums and tears and crying and tables
and memes that will live forever.
and doors slammed and all of that. Whoopi Goldberg and I are close friends.
Yes.
And we don't take this out of the studio. It didn't matter to me one bit. I don't think it mattered to her either. We haven't even mentioned it to each other because it's just another day at work. And I understand her role as moderator. And I think she understands that, I was passionate and wanted to get that point out.
And I saw tons of people saying, well, they should have fewer commercials. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. But it's interesting. So here's my question.
So I hope he comes back.
I
hope other Republicans come back. And I hope that they, see that there's eyeballs, that when you come here, there is eyeballs.
And you become part of the conversation for a week.
You become part of the conversation. Nothing else that he has done has been nearly as covered as this. So
well, here's a question for you.
And I want Republic. I would love to have Marco sitting next to me and ask him some, tough questions. And look, you can be civil and you can be polite and you can be respectful and you can push back and you can confront and you can debate.
Do you think that he might have changed anyone's opinion about him because he came on in an affable way from our audience? I don't know.
I don't think he changed anybody's opinion of him other than Joy's.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, let's move on to something else here because on your podcast, you got some big guests coming up.
Yeah.
You've got my daughter's dream guest, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Luis Miranda, his dad. And you have former View host, possibly on the Mount Rushmore of View hosts, debatable, Rosie O'Donnell.
So I taped with Lin-Manuel and Luis Miranda yesterday for Father's Day.
Oh, okay, great.
Right? Because, both of them are my friends.
That's
I get
fantastic.
to spend time with them. And their relationship is the most extraordinary thing. They are so funny together. They're like the odd couple, right? Luis dresses in like gold lame, and Lin-Manuel, like when they shop for each other, Luis says they'll go to, like, let's say Father's Day. Like Luis will go into the store and say, "Give me the most boring shirt you have," and that's for Lin-Manuel. And Lin will say, "Give me the gaudiest thing you have," and that will be his Father's Day gift for his father. They are extraordinary, and we had such a good conversation. It was like an hour long, and we talked about an issue. So, and because he's on a press junket right now, Lin is about Moana. So remember, he wrote the songs for Moana 1, Moana 3, which is an action, what's it called? Live
it's
animation?
Technically just Moana. There's Moana 1, there's Moana 2, and then they're remaking the animated Moana in live action.
Okay.
And that's live action Moana.
And Lin wrote some new songs, and so he's really excited about it. He says it's terrific. Even I'm excited to watch that.
As a dad, Moana was very, very impactful in my family.
But
I know
asked
every word.
I asked him about taking political positions.
Yeah.
Right. And he said something to me, which I think it's just so made me think. He said, because listen, when somebody like a Lin-Manuel Miranda takes a political position, it has a cost.
Yes.
And it means you piss off people, people that would want to go see your movies. And he said, yes, but sometimes sometimes politics is thrust on you and you just can't avoid it. And I think that for him in particular, as Puerto Rican, as a Latino, as somebody that cares deeply and is just such an empathetic person. So we discussed, for example, his decision, he and his team, to pull out of the Kennedy Center. If you remember, Lin-Manuel was supposed to be... Hamilton was supposed to be playing at the Kennedy Center this year as part of the 250th celebration of America. They were scheduled to be in the Kennedy Center, and they were the first to pull out of the Kennedy Center when Trump started pulling all of his shenanigans, got rid of the board that was there, replaced them with a bunch of all these people, put Rick Grinnell in charge, the whole thing. And it got a lot of backlash. And it also led to a domino effect. So it was his one brave action of pulling out from that led to a lot of other people pulling out, eventually led to the closure of the Kennedy Center because they didn't have any acts to come in. So we talked about what that process was, what that took. And I admire him greatly because there are a lot of top talent. There are a lot of very famous people who choose not to use their platform, not to take specific steps, not to speak out because it's going to antagonize people that might buy tickets to their movies or to their shows or endorsements or whatever. This guy has, I gotta tell you, he has got cojones of steel, and it comes from the activism of his mother and father. It is how he grew up, where silence and inaction is simply not an option.
You also just had a whirlwind trip to Chicago. Tell me about this.
That was incredible. So Tuesday, Tuesday was like a surreal day for me. Mm-hmm. Tuesday, right after Vance, I jumped in a car, went to the airport, and flew to Chicago, commercial. Get there, proceed to leave my phone in the Uber. So I am in Chicago for less than 12 hours with no phone. Then I've
been there, as you know.
Yeah, I know. I went to Chicago to have a dinner that Governor J.B. Pritzker had invited me to. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like taking advantage of the fact that all these people were there.
For the Obama.
Activities and festivities. And it was held at his house, he and his wife MK's residence in Chicago, and which is beautiful. And in fact, it made me think, God, I really hope if these people, it made me think, if these people get elected president, this woman can put the White House back together, because that house is just elegant and beautiful. And we do need somebody that will put the Rose Garden back together and the East Wing back together and,
take down the UFC cage.
Yeah, yes. Take down the UFC cage and figure out what to do with the damn ballroom if it ever gets built. So it was a wonderful dinner, and JB spoke. And, there's something about him that I find so relatable. The fact, he's a billionaire, but he's just so incredibly relatable. And it kind of, in the dark times that we're living in America, that I am living through in America, I feel are dark. Hearing somebody like J.B. Pritzker speak kind of reminds you that there are public servants that do it for the right reasons.
Right.
That it is, there are people who go into elected office because they want to make the country better. They want to make their community better. They want to make the world better. And to me, he is one of those people. And I also got to I recorded a podcast with her, the woman who's running. It was his lieutenant governor, Juliana Stratton, and she is running to become the next U.S. senator from Chicago. So she's in the general election in November. In likelihood, she wins. And she is just this spectacular woman. She will, follow Carol Moseley Braun and Barack Obama and be the third African-American senator from Chicago. And again, it just kind of like, particularly after J.D. Vance, it was like almost like a palate cleanser. It was like a recharging of batteries and just reminding me that, not everybody who's in politics is about the ambition and getting rich and, and lying. And, no, there are people who are really worthwhile that are still running for elected office and putting themselves out there. And then I'm sitting next to this couple at this dinner. And he says to me, "Oh, we're going back to New York tonight." I'm like, to make a long story short, Chacha and I end up on their private plane back to New York, landing at 2 a.m.
It's unbelievable, and you texted me from it, and it's unbelievable. Your ability, if you have a superpower, it is to find your way on random people's private planes. Thank God, never Jeffrey Epstein, but everyone else. Everyone else who's got a private plane, I think you've visited it at one time or another.
Well, okay, to be in fairness to me,
Yes.
I must take over 100 flights a year.
Yes.
And most of them are, commercial flights. And I will say this, like last week, so I think this was God making it up to me, because last week when I was going home after the View Thursday night, I was at the entrance of the plane. I was at the door. They were about to start boarding, and they canceled the flight.
Yes.
And I had this giant bag that I had been schlepping for 3 weeks, and I had cha-cha, and I said to our assistant here, okay, listen, I'm not going, because they booked me on a 6:30 flight the next day, 6:30 a.m. flight, and I said, listen, I'm not gonna go back to the city just to have to wake up at 4 a.m. to get back to the airport. So put me in an airport hotel. And when I tell you, this place was so gross, I slept with my clothes on.
You did send me some notes about.
And I put my giant bag in front of the door.
Yes.
Okay, so I think this was okay. So this was okay, like God saying to me, okay, I gave you storms, electric storms that led to you canceling the flight, getting canceled last week. This week, I'm going to put you in a beautiful private jet so that you can have some white wine and caviar and go back to home in style.
So you texted me that night that you were in a 3-star hotel, which
Yes.
I looked up, and you were horrified. And then you were furious with me for not checking on you the next morning to make sure that you hadn't been kidnapped and taken.
Yes.
Yes, I apologize.
I mean, I thought that was rather insensitive of you.
It was. I'm sorry.
If you
3 stars is
yes,
just,
if you texted me from a precarious situation,
Yes.
I would when you lost your phone.
Yes, you were very attentive.
I checked
and
up on
yes,
you.
You did. You were very
the
good
next
to me.
day. Here I
Yes.
am.
Yes.
In
Queens,
I don't know where I was.
You were near
You know where I
JFK.
was? Where the nanny was from.
Flushing. Yes.
But this place,
Yeah. Well,
oy vey, oy.
I checked
oy
it out
vey.
online. It was okay.
You didn't think I was gonna die?
No, I thought you were fine.
So okay,
They
what
have
do
a
you want
deadbolt.
me? So I'm right from here. I'm going to record
Rosie?
my podcast, Bleep with Anna Navarro, which is doing very well, by the way. So thank
Yes.
you to everybody. What should I ask Rosie? What do you want me to ask her?
I mean, everyone asks her about the split screen, so I don't think you have to do that. So I never worked with Rosie, so I
didn't?
No, I missed the entire.
Have you met her?
I've met her. I met her at the premiere of Frozen.
Okay. Did she know who you
Broadway
were?
Play. She introduced herself to me, and it was very nice. And then I met her once when I was at David Letterman, but I don't think she'd remember me from that. But I'm curious how often The View gets mentioned to her. How much of part of her life is it? Because to View fans, I think she's very important to the history of the show, and a lot of the show has ebbed and flowed with politics throughout the
Right.
years, but I feel like the beginning of when this show became a very political show was during her first tenure here, and I'm curious whether that's something that she's proud of or thinks about or anything else.
And the feud with Trump began on The View,
It
right?
definitely
I mean,
did.
it was one day that she was kind of making fun of his hair and stuff.
Yeah, and the fact that next
And
year,
this was way before
Yeah.
he was running for president. She knew him from New York.
yeah, no, it all started here, and then the 30th anniversary of The View's next year. And does she have any thoughts?
Does she have any thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to sitting down with her. I think she is a complex, complicated person with a lot of feelings. She is, she comes across sometimes as very tough. Rosie is also one of the most sensitive people that I know, and I'm good friends with Rosie, and so I'm looking forward to having a wide-ranging conversation with her today.
As a talk show guy, which I am, and I love talk show legacies and things like that, her original daytime talk show absolutely changed everying in the talk show
I think it
world.
was the 30th anniversary of it the other day. Oh, you know what else happened this week that I need to mention?
Yes.
I got a text from a friend in LA with a picture of Loki, whose name
Tom Hiddleston. Yes.
Tom Hiddleston.
Yes.
And I had told my friend, because my friend, her name is Christy Hauberger. She used to be my agent. She used to be with CAA, and she used to be my agent. And she was always horrified how I didn't know any of these huge
Yes.
stars. Like one time, she booked me to do this thing with Katy Perry.
Yes.
And I asked her if that was Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter. So, what's her name?
Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, they look very much alike at
do
a
not,
point.
but okay.
No, but there was one point where they both had like the same haircut.
I'm going to say no, but go ahead.
Okay, so Christy knows that I have this huge blind spot when
Yes.
it comes to recognizing big celebrities, like particularly if they're white, forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Latino ones I know. So I had told her the story about how horrified you were
Yes.
when I like shoved you in front of Loki
Yes.
and said, "Here,
Yes.
hit Weezer,
Yes.
meet Brian." And so she brought up the story to him, and he thought it was rather funny how I had no damn idea who he was, but I introduced him to my colleague. I don't think I ever introduced you as my executive producer, did I?
I think you might have at one point. I don't know. I was hoping he would. I get another chance to meet him where he didn't remember the first time later on. So
Well, he absolutely remembers the fact that
wonderful. All right. Well, you know do you know who Tig Notaro is? Have you ever heard of her? She's an actress, funny person. It's fine. You wouldn't know who she is, but she has a talk show where people bring out celebrities that everyone in the world knows except for her, because much like you, she doesn't know who anybody is, and they just sit them down with her, and she has to try to figure out who they are through context clues as they're
Where
discussing.
is this talk show? I love
It's
this.
streaming. It's fantastic. I'll send it to you later.
I think I could like. I could. I'm gonna tell her that I could replace her if she goes on vacation.
Yeah, you should be like
I
her
could-
summer
because
hiatus.
I'm just like that. I'll tell you what I just discovered.
What?
That I'm feeling that I have been missing out on my entire life. I'm rather upset about this.
What's this?
Oh my God, these soccer players are
Oh.
the most good-looking
There you go.
people on the planet. I
Yeah.
mean, it is insane. I don't understand.
I thought you caught up with Messi last year, and you.
Yes,
yeah.
but I have to do. Yeah, but Messi doesn't
Do it for you.
Doesn't do
Yeah.
it for me. But his colleague, his playmate, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, teammate.
What a teammate. I think his name is Rodrigo De Paul, and he plays for Miami. He
Yes.
plays for the Inter Miami, and I don't even know that this man is in my zip code, in my area code. What is wrong with me?
Because distance is the only thing
Well,
keeping you two
so
apart.
my niece, you know that if I put my mind to it,
Yeah,
I'll be
fair enough.
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll be. I mean, I run into athletes. Last weekend, I was having dinner, and Alonzo Mourning
Yeah, you
came
sent
and
me a text, yeah.
came and sat with me for a while.
I'm a St. John's fan, so I didn't like that. Yeah.
But so my niece played soccer in college, and my niece is like a huge soccer player. Of course, she's also gay, and so like she's playing like, Tia, you've got to get into soccer. You've got to get into soccer. And I'm like, oh, honey, that's just you. That's just you and all of your gay girlfriends wanting to do this. That's because you play soccer. And of course, she never brought up to me
That they're all
that
very
they're all
handsome.
very hot men
Yes.
who take their shirt off.
Yes, when they win.
After they, is it just when they win?
Well,
so
when
they
they
lose.
when they score. Yeah.
Is it when they score? When the
When
hell
they
is
win.
it?
When they win the game, they take it
I've
off.
actually never seen a soccer game.
I'm
but
sure you'll be
now
at the World
my
Cup final
feed
this year. Yes.
My feed is inundated with pictures and with content of hot soccer players. Like there's this goalkeeper. Is it goalkeeper or goaltender? Or there's
Goaltender, goalkeeper.
Okay,
yeah.
from Nigeria, I think.
I'm more of an American football guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
but who cares? But these guys, like I called all my gay friends and I said, listen, you guys have got to stop obsessing about hockey, because now they're
Mm-hmm.
all obsessed with hockey after that show. What's it called? Heated Rivalry.
Heated Rivalry,
I said,
yes.
those people have no teeth. You need to start watching soccer.
We'll get a stranger's private jet and
Also-
fly off to the World Cup.
No, I'm gonna fly off to Kansas. That's where the Argentina team is doing asados. They're barbecuing meat and chorizo in their
All right, this is- yeah.
I feel like Kansas is manageable.
All you need
I
is-
feel like going to LA and finding a team is hard.
Shakira's performing at one of them. I know that, so you can
Didn't
work
she
all this
already?
out. Or maybe she already did. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
trying to make all of your worlds collide at the same time. That'd be
No,
good.
I am very excited about this World Cup. When does it end?
I'm not sure.
You know nothing about this?
I've been betting on it, but I haven't actually followed where it ends up. A few weeks. It goes for a while.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was thinking about you. So Spain, which I think won, I mean, Spain is like a great team, right? I read. They were playing Cape Verde, which I think is the first time they're in the World Cup. And there's some, it basically would be like me going up against,
It's like the
Kobe
Jamaican
Bryant,
bobsled team. Yes.
on a 3-point shootout type
Right.
of thing. So somebody on one of these betting sites bet $1 million that Spain would win, because they thought, okay, I'll make an easy $80,000.
Right.
And
they
they
lost.
tied.
Oh, yeah. That's what
They
you don't
tied.
do. You don't do that.
Oh my God!
Mm-hmm.
I hope he didn't get a mortgage on his house for this because, oh my God, that would be painful.
All right. Well, the U.S. team plays tomorrow afternoon. So that's
What are they
exciting.
playing?
I don't know who are they playing.
Are there any cute ones in the U.S. team? I haven't seen any cute
I'm
U.S.
not the
ones.
person to ask, but you should
I've
take a
seen
look. They're
some
playing Australia. I'm sure there's good-looking
incredible-looking,
Australians.
There's some guy from Morocco, too.
All right, we'll start taking notes, and I'll see if I can book for you. Thank you for joining me today, Anna. Tomorrow, we have an all-new View. Joy will react, I'm sure, to the latest comments from the vice president, claiming that she's tougher than Iranian negotiators and also his new best friend. And we're cooking with Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson.
I love those two guys.
Celebrating Juneteenth, so it'll be good. We'll see you next week, but also big news on the podcast. Starting next week, starting Monday, the podcast is going to be available on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+. How about that? This is big.
I'm more excited about the Cha-Cha Cam.
I'm very excited about the Cha-Cha Cam is going to be big, too. I think that's the key to the whole thing. All right, anyway, that's all the time we have. We will see you soon.
Behind the Table is executive produced by Brian Teta. Supervising producers are Nathan Getty and Summer Shake, with associate producer Emily Darcy and editor Brian Davis. Our director of publicity is Laurie Hogan, and our senior manager of production operation is Enza Dolcenini. From ABC Audio, Trevor Hastings serves as senior producer, with director of podcast programming Josh Cohan.